Okay. Are we just trade? Okay.
Okay. Shall I make a general introduction then?
Sure. Why not?
Okay.
Who wants to buy? Anybody? Trade.
So I'd like to welcome you to this intimate gathering of poets celebrating National Poetry Month. And I'm Suzanne Vesley. I'm the director of the library, and I'm really delighted to be here and see everybody here. It's going to be reading. I can hardly wait to hear what you have to read. So let's get going. I'd like to introduce Rustin Larson, and he'll come on and say a few things.
Okay.
I guess you're first.
No, actually, you're first because I have your bio.
Oh.
Okay.
So
Oh, maybe-
I'll say
You
hello,
introduce me.
and then I'll introduce you.
That's fine.
Okay. Should I?
Well, you sort of did.
I didn't say what your background was.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
I
But you're
there's-
just
He's
introducing.
introducing
you're not-
somebody.
I have to introduce you.
She introduces me.
Okay.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you.
Okay.
No.
It's my great pleasure to introduce my dear friend Rustin Larson, who will be reading at the Poetry at Round Top Festival in Texas next Saturday, May 5th, where other readers include Naomi Shiabnai, Petty Ann Rogers, and Reginald Gibbons. And he has been widely published nationally, including in the New Yorker magazine, and has his degree from Vermont College.
I guess that means you're second. Okay. First. It's okay.
I don't mind. I'm not in a rush.
I'm gonna try some new ones to start with. Something I'm gonna read in Texas, or try to. There we go. This first one's called Cochise. When I was a lad, I would wait patiently all week for Batman. The show aired Fridays at 7. Everybody loved him. 10,000 concussions a year cannot be wrong. My cousins liked Batman, but they liked Cochise better. I am Cochise, Chris screamed, pounding his chest at the top of the cellar stairs, and then he dived upon his brother, Kurt. Let me tell you a little about the real-life Cochise. Cochise was a chief of the Chokonan band of the Chiricahua Apache and the leader of an uprising that began in 1861. The Chiricahua were a particularly resistant people. Cochise means strength of an oak tree in Chiricahua. Cochise fought the Mexicans. Cochise fought the Americans. He was portrayed by Jeff Chandler in the movie Broken Arrow. Before my cousin took his dive down the basement stairs, he had watched Broken Arrow. 17 stitches and a concussion. Cochise died in retirement of natural causes. His descendants live on the Mescalero Apache Reservation in New Mexico. My cousin still lives. He is a tall person. The real-life Cochise was about 5'10", 175 pounds, thick neck, broad shoulders. As you write, a deep blue stone is found on the land where Cochise and his people lived. People collect stones for a variety of reasons, but they jump down a flight of stairs for just a couple, or maybe 3 at the most. 1, stupidity. 2, revenge. Or 3, panic. Cochise took the Mexicans and the Americans seriously enough to fight them. Was it Cochise who took over the body of my cousin and cast it down the stairs after my other cousin? I think about these things from time to time, and I wonder why Cochise visited us that day, and I wonder what he would have said had he not been rendered unconscious. History. Sitting in history 35 years ago, my finger holding place in the textbook, what was the name of the man giving the lecture? He consistently took a break mid-hour to smoke outside as snow fell. He smoked filterless short cigarettes, smoked like he was drinking smoke, gave smoking a scholarly look. Beowulf lives there, he said, pointing to the cavern of hemlocks, to the snow's endless and cascading curtain. Monument. Someone threw a brick into the middle of my yard. Someone, self-monumentizing, chose a lump of red man-made stone to be remembered by, though no personal name or date is attached. But the mere presence of the thing in my clump of clover says, listen, whoever I was here, and your yard I chose as the memorial to everything I hold and held dear. This man-made stone stays there. Not even half a brick, so portable, so easy to throw, it has no better place to go. Foxgrape. Foxgrape is killing the bush in our side yard. So Carolyn and I take part of the afternoon to kill the foxgrape. This is herbal warfare started, I think, by the weed who invaded at the base of the shrubbery and climbed to daylight, choking every branch it touched. A bit like the thorns guarding Sleeping Beauty, Carolyn says as we hack our way, yanking and pulling vine. On the subatomic level, these are insubstantial mists. And beyond that, these vines are nothing, mere thoughts, if that. Yet they cut my hands. I read a poem called Pavement 6. The meter and shape of his lines were determined by the width of the notebook. He'd drive around the city for hours in a green 1964 Beetle, looking for the ultimate glint of sun off the buildings. He worshipped snow at dusk, the purple stripes crusting the roadsides, the cawing of crows he couldn't see. It was near the sculpture garden he'd sit, and he could barely make out the words. But she, at least, was beautiful in his mind. He knew she would always be Guan Yin, the goddess of compassion, whom he knew and whom he would meet again. The starlight gaining thirstily above him, the celestial cities of wonders thrown open coldly, but with such pulsing beauty. Let's see, close my eyes and just pick something at random. Okay. Transformation and sleep. Meet me, she said. A kiss, light of a gold coin. That's the body's death. Let all the past be there. The past glitters like clothes of a hovering angel, a fairy tale, windows well, oxygen and citron, light of night. He found a song worshiping an almost remembered play. These are my words. He had been writing along smooth plaster walls. She holds this for ages, holding the words, walking past the houses. Life was a crumpled letter, hair bound in a braid, a raw, overwhelming landscape, but for a cascade. I didn't intend the gardens you see as you walk, the darkness you wrap, curls that pour near your ears to a froth of lace. Oranges on a hill near, sparrows, grow yourself from air, play on parched grass, simple cart path paraded like blue flags, honeybees. On her bed, mean it. It finds breath committed in a bowl of apples and apricots spilled, a Persian throw of red and blue, where you see her, 5 a.m., the traffic glowing like a false dawn. I did. Metal insects sliding into song. You hear the notes of stars playing the lawns. Shake the globe. Its starlight crumbled to a powder, fallen to earth. The night I was dying, night of the population, someone's soul was torn in two. The silver snow of forgetfulness sparkled in the room. The night she, oneself back from a seed, was born, I lay dead. You don't need rainfall on transcendental soil. No, let the soil light around you. The starlight became my cloak. Okay, this one's called Anonymous. And it's actually, really get the point why I call it anonymous when I read it, but it's based on a friend of mine called William Kemet. And he knows this is about him, and he never really said, well, wait a minute, why anonymous? But I think he got it, anonymous. So I'm thinking of my friend for a few moments, that lean book of poems he wrote. No one will ever know who he is. He would always order rounds of port at Julio's. He would repeat the experience often. Mr. whose name I can never remember to spell with 1 or 2 T's. It's a slushy day here. It doesn't seem like a port kind of day. But for me, it never is. Alcohol doesn't mix well with the meds I'm on, and no one will ever know who I am. I will never learn the language of angels or translate their utterances for the American Poetry Review. I'm stuck as you are, man, lodged in the eye of the Cyclops so all our other friends can escape. I came to this library saying to myself I'd write about my friend, and lo and behold, there was a guy who looked just like you, keying himself into his Jeep, driving off into the snow. He had your funny cab driver's cap, and his face was flushed, for all I know, with port. He had a book in his hands and a styrofoam crate of medicine, maybe hijacked flu vaccine. If I didn't know you were still alive, I would say he was your ghost. The UPS truck comes up West Adams, as brown as the slush it rolls through. Half the streets in this side of town are named after presidents who rest numbly beneath our soil, without a clue of what's become of us. I write this to you because this is just what it is. I used to have a hat like yours. I bought it because it was like yours. I wore it because it was the color of port, and I thought it would change the way my head worked. I wanted to look into the sky to see your one-winged seagull. Not far from here is the college where I used to teach. I teach whatever they told me to, man, and I felt like an idiot. I'd ached for the end of classes so I could walk in the cold and find my brain again. I see some people still walking that way. That's when I read your book, and that's when I don't care if anyone ever knows who we are. Life documented, but not the life lived. Near exhaustion, but what have I done? On a whim, I take a shovel to the yard and dig. Neighbors splay their blinds to watch me. What is down there? I find coins and a bunch of bones. I find an old telephone and an iron and a hit pipe some teenager must have chucked in a panic. I find old blue and brown medicine bottles, a cameo ring of a girl with a garland in her hair. There are large rusted needles and nails and hinges from cabinets. There are porcelain knobs and shards of crockery. There is the barrel and cylinder of an old pistol, knife blades and tarnished silver spoons. I dig until the moonlight fails me and I can see nothing forever. Then I sit down on the edge of what I am and let the wind sing in my mouth. Oregon, in memory of Robert Long. My friend says most poems are bad. He says he has stopped liking poetry, lives on Long Island these days with a mild infection. I know where he is. Once, when I was ill, I lay dreaming this sick feeling was a road, a highway actually, through the mountains. There were signs posted for rockfall. When I started to feel better, the ocean was in sight. Gold Beach, Oregon, in fact. I stood and strolled with my jacket zipped tight and threw pieces of driftwood at the waves. There was a moment I found some money in the sand, assorted coins amounting to about $3.86. Quite a find when you think about it. I can't remember what I did with the money. Bought a sandwich, no doubt. Anyway, it felt good to be in Oregon. And I will close with this one. Things I tell my children. There is a giant eyeball living under the staircase. There is a giant eyeball and 7 dancing devils. Yes, I can make you a bird suit so you can teach yourself to fly. Never forget you are an alien life form. Some years ago, my father dug himself out of his grave, tooled around town in a yellow 75 Impala. It came in handy now and then. So, if in the future you're at your rope's end, don't hesitate to call. I will dig myself upward, reconstitute my ashes, press my scattered voices together with the glue of ether, stand by your shoulder like a stand by your shoulder like a whirlwind. I'm going to introduce Paul Stockstad. For the first few decades, Paul was mostly interested in girls, tennis, and pole vaulting. In college, he dabbled in theater and did some poetry writing at the U of Iowa under